And here we are with the very first podcast for the Dynasty Guys. My name is Brent Wassell, here with my co-host
John Gross.
We really love Dynasty football, so we thought it'd be a fun idea to put together this podcast and start kind of chatting about things. I've been playing Dynasty for 3 years. I got into it because of John.
Yep, absolutely. And I have been playing Dynasty football since 2012, so that'd make it 7 years. Started with only a couple of leagues with some buddies, now built out. Currently I'm in 9 Dynasty leagues, and that number continues to grow, and it shall continue to grow.
Yeah, well, I've kind of learned that once you start, it kind of becomes a pretty addictive habit, but it's a lot of fun. I think that the rewards you get, the more time you put into your research, the more leagues you're in, the payoffs are greater.
Absolutely, man. I love this game. I played low-level D3 college football, played high school football, and really when I got done playing college football, it's like I just wanted to continue to do something, keep my hands dirty with fantasy football, and Dynasty just adds another level. When I looked on the spectrum of gambling, going off a little off topic here, but just one of my core concepts I like to allude to, when I look at the spectrum of gambling, on one end of the spectrum, you have slots, which is just pure gambling, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have like poker, which you see guys with a lot of strategy. There's still some luck involved, right? And fantasy football is kind of a little bit closer to slots, but when we start talking about dynasty football, that's where you can really get an edge, and that's where I find one of the things that really draws me to it is you can get a competitive edge by just being consistently making better and better decisions day after day.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that just really draws me to it and why I love playing dynasty football.
Absolutely. I'll draw off that a bit. One of the things I love about Dynasty is I kind of look at it almost like the stock market in terms of players have different values throughout the year. Player value will be at its all-time high, and you have to decide, do I sell this stock while the asset's high and then try to buy other things, or when do you go all in versus kind of going for more of a rebuild, which we'll get into. But knowing when to buy high and not sell low, I think is a key thing in Dynasty, that those small trades, I mean, you have your big blockbuster trades, but the small trades can really make a big difference too in the long term.
Yeah, man, you got to keep building that portfolio.
Yeah. So John and I go way back. We've been friends for 20 plus years. We're here in Minnesota, diehard Vikings fans. I'm sitting in John's basement right now, surrounded by all kinds of Vikings accoutrement. We got a
Paraphernalia.
3D poster on the wall. We got U.S. Bank Stadium good to go.
Purple People Eaters. You got Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, Alan Page, and the lesser known Gary Larson sitting over there. So yeah, man, we're diehard Vikings games. It's about 10. Diehard Viking fans. It's about 10:30 right now. Needless to say, we are waiting with bated breath for the 12 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, so today is actually Sunday, September 8th. So we're recording this right before the main games all start. One other thing that we see in the basement here is the Minneapolis Miracle. John, you were at that game.
Yeah, man, I was at that game. It was absolutely insane. I got a picture of Stephon Diggs with a little blurb on it, framed. Then I also have the little, it's not a Homer hanky, but it's the towel that they gave everyone that was there that says "Bring it home." And yeah, I was there, man. I remember standing there with my buddy Scott, and we were watching the game, and there was about 10 seconds left. It was right before Case Keenum threw the pass. And I remember standing up, and I remember telling my buddy, like, dude, we need a Hail Mary, like, pass interference here, because we didn't have any timeouts, right? So we need like a Hail Mary pass interference. That's our only chance. And then obviously everyone knows what happens with that, right? Diggs caught the pass, stay in bounds. And man, the stadium was absolute pandemonium. I've never seen so many grown men cry. It was, I don't let my wife hear this, but top 3 moment of my life.
Yes.
Yeah, top 4, I guess, because I got 2 kids now. But
I was up north in Lutsen on a snowboard trip that weekend, and we were streaming the game. And I swear I cried so hard my tears froze when they hit the ground. I bought Super Bowl tickets that night with my dad.
Yes, we did.
But we know how that story went. I was at the NFC Championship. We'll get into that another time, but back onto the podcast here. So let's chat some big news and notes. There's been some really, really, really big things that have happened in the league. Looking back last week, the news of Andrew Luck retiring.
Yeah, man. Really surprised to everyone. Almost as shocking as some of this AB stuff, but in the world of social media and instant gratification, there's a lot of recency bias. But the Andrew Luck one, I would wager to argue was just as shocking and just out of nowhere, I think. the Dynasty take on it for me, and I kind of want to hear what your opinion is on it too.
Yeah.
I think you can make an argument for both sides about him staying retired, right? He's a Stanford grad. He's got a book club. He's got all the money in the world. Like, he could do whatever he wants kind of thing. And he's a smart guy. Doesn't necessarily need football. But I think there's another argument, too, with this guy that at some point he's going to get that itch again. He's only 29. Maybe it's after he changes a couple of diapers and he realizes, I want back in on this. Once he gets his body right, man, he's been playing football his entire life.
Yeah.
It would not shock or surprise me if he did come back. I know that the Colts, different from other teams, like when Calvin Johnson retired early and they didn't give him all of his money.
Yeah.
The Colts gave Andrew Luck the rest of his money.
They did.
I don't know if that maybe is a good gesture from them, saying, hey, like, if you do come back, we got your back. But my personal opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back. What about you?
Interesting. He's 29 years old. He'll be 30 on September 12th, just a few days from now.
Yep.
Yeah, football's been a part of who he is, but when I first heard the news that he was retiring, I was like, no way. Like, you don't be that high, that much of a competitive athlete at that level and have a team that a lot of people said is a Super Bowl ready team on things, like a legit contender, and then just retire like that. I mean, so I get that he has that itch and you see that it could come back, but I watched the whole interview of him, the long interview, and he talked about everything, about how his body was broken down and he was just like constantly in pain year after year, and how he had talked to his wife, his family, his friends, his coaches, and like he just wasn't happy. Like, money, I guess, doesn't give you happiness, and maybe he would rather take the family route than the potential Super Bowl.
So what's your Dynasty action plan in a one quarterback as well as super flex league for Andrew Luck?
One quarterback league, I mean, if you're in a one quarterback dynasty league, I mean, if you have a roster spot, maybe keep him, but I don't think he's worth keeping on your roster at all. Brissett, maybe we'll see what he can do. I actually do think the Brissett is going to surprise people, because looking back at when he played for the year when Andrew Luck was injured, he was kind of thrown into that, and the Colts are a totally different team now than they were at that time.
Yeah, their offensive line is bolstered with Quentin Nelson. He's an absolute beast amongst others. And then with that, they've been preparing like through the preseason with Brissett playing. So I think there could be more efficiency on that offense.
Yep.
What about a super flex league? What's your action plan with Andrew Luck in a super flex league on your roster? Are you keeping him? Are you dropping him? What are you trying to do? Are you selling? If you are selling, how much are you selling for?
Well, I don't think anybody is really buying. So I don't think you're going to get anything more than like a late draft pick on it, so I don't think selling makes any sense. Depending on the league,
so you would hold.
Yeah. Depending on the league, if you have the roster spots, I mean, hold. You're gonna have to hold for this year, probably next year. I mean, is it really worth keeping a roster spot for 2-3 years for somebody that, in all likelihood, isn't coming back?
In a one quarterback league, you absolutely drop him. Unless it's like 40 roster spots, then you're potentially holding on just because of that upside he has. But in any other situation, you're dropping Andrew Luck in a one quarterback league. It's a one quarterback league. Superflex, I'm holding. If I could sell for a second, which you're right, probably no one's buying for, I'm probably selling him. But
would you take a third for him in a Superflex league? Someone offers you 20-23 for Andrew Luck now.
Probably not, because the upside of him coming back is worth more than I think any third's ever going to give me.
Sure.
And if you have Andrew Luck, you've obviously invested a lot to get him.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things, you either sink or swim or go down with the ship. So
it's kind of like the Josh Gordon thing, all the owners that have held him year after year after year.
Lots of volatility there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Antonio Brown here, man. This is your boy. I know now you're in 4 Dynasty leagues and growing, correct?
Yes.
And you got a share in one of our big leagues, $150 league with big jackpot for winning it back-to-back years, which
Empire League,
I did do that last year, but that's another story.
Yes.
What's going on, man? You know, I brought this up before we were going to do this podcast, and it was like I had all my thoughts on it. It was Saturday, and then he gets released, and then he comes back. And now he's with the Patriots. Like, walk us through that roller coaster of emotion.
So I had a big blockbuster trade last year. I went all in, contending team, got Antonio Brown, got Travis Kelce, sold the farm to get it, went all in, got second place, lost to you, in fact, which, of course, you know. So I've had Antonio Brown, and then everything happened with the Steelers, and he was gone. And then when he originally went to the Raiders, I was actually really, really excited. A lot of people were down on that, but looking into the Derek Carr stats and what he has and what he's done all time in the NFL with kind of the deep completion accuracy, I was pretty big on Antonio Brown. I thought he was going to surprise a lot of people and still be a legit top 5 wide receiver in Oakland. So now it's coming back. All the drama stuff happens. I mean, the guy clearly has some stuff going on in his head. I mean, remember when he was on The Voice, the Masked Singer show? Somebody was singing and they take off their mask and it's Antonio Brown. Like, who does that? So he's clearly got some stuff in the head. And then everything happens. And then there's the foot, the cold feet, the everything, the altercation with the coaches.
What were you feeling on Friday after he had just given the apology and it sounded like through the news sources he was going to suit up on Monday? How are you feeling?
Yeah. So right before that, it's like he's not going to play on Monday. It's like that sucks. And then like the apology and everything happens. It's like, okay, he's being the big man. He's working with the captains of the team. He's, admitting whatever wrongs he may or may not have done type of thing. He's there. He's going to play. And so it's like he's not playing. He's suspended. To he's playing. It's like, this is amazing. Like, I've wanted him to play with the Raiders.
And
with
so
Derek Carr
how are you
time.
feeling on Saturday morning when you woke up to the Hive Mind text from a couple of our other buddies? And go ahead.
Well, right before that. So
you went to sleep
Friday night.
dreaming of sugar plums.
Almost. Antonio Brown that night had released this really weird video with him, and it was a recording with him and Gruden talking about things. And they go back and forth, and Gruden's like, just play football, man. Like, come on, stop this, knock it out. And Antonio Brown, he's like, this is my life. And then it kind of ends. It's like, what?
High quality, man. It was definitely
yeah.
It's paying people some money to make it nice.
And then Saturday morning, it's like, what is going on? And then it's like he posts, release me. It's like,
how downtrodden were you on Saturday? Or did you have hopes that things would be resolved anyways with another team?
I've tried to buy Antonio Brown in a few leagues actually from people. Even with all this drama and things happening, I still think no matter where he goes, he's going to do amazing. He's too good of a football player and too much of a narcissistic diva to not go out there and prove the haters wrong.
Okay, right. And then he ends up getting signed to the Patriots. What are your feelings about that?
I don't know if I have a full opinion on that yet. I mean, it's kind of crowded. They have Edelman there. They have Antonio Brown. Josh Gordon's back, and he's playing. Tom Brady's obviously a very talented quarterback, but he's also older. I mean, we'll have to see what happens on that.
So right now, are you where you have him in a league? You have a contending team. Are you selling or are you buying? Well, I guess you can't buy if you already have him. Leagues.
I wouldn't sell him. No way. I wouldn't sell him in the leagues when I'm contending. If I'm not contending, then sell him.
You think he'll be on the Patriots all 16 games this year?
Who knows? He could be on 3 more teams. He could retire. You can't predict that stuff with this guy. He's a wild card.
All right, man. Here's my advice. Okay. This is going to be your opportunity to sell one time. There was a little window on Friday when he apologized and everything was looking good, right? But that's not a lot of time to make this happen. He's on the Patriots. He's going to play good for a while. I'm not buying into any of the talk that he somehow was smart enough or intelligent enough to orchestrate all this. And, was he self-sabotaging? Was he self-sabotaging? Potentially. I also don't buy into as much as we want to buy into those conspiracy theories about the Patriots somehow being the evil empire, which they are, and that they were somehow looking behind the scenes to acquire him, which would have been tampering, which is a huge, huge issue if it was the case. I don't buy that for a second, right? They got Tom Brady. They have a good defense. They got Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick isn't going to put his legacy at stake by trying to tamper with Antonio Brown when he's out in the Raiders to try to get him on the team. I'm not buying that for 1 second. Okay, so
Interesting.
Not for a second, man. It's not worth it. They got Edelman. They got Josh Gordon back. Demaryius Thomas. I'm not sure how good he's necessarily going to be, but I think he's slowing down a lot now, 31 or 32. So I'm not buying any of that there's some elaborate plan by AB. He's on the Patriots. They're taking a shot on him, right? You got $9 million guaranteed with 15 if he stays on them the entire season.
Yep.
Dude, something is off with this guy, man. I know it's on Twitter, speculate, CTE, mental health, whatever it is. I'm not an expert, don't know exactly what it is, man. But this is, and he is narcissistic, absolutely. if he were not to have these issues and he was just going to ball out, dude, he could be the number one overall wide receiver. These are the types of players, the small, quick, speedy guys, agile that Tom Brady loves to throw to. And right, he's an outside receiver, but he could play slot too.
Oh yeah,
he would be the number one wide receiver. So there's so much upside. If you could find someone in your league that is willing to take that risk on, it's an absolute sell for me, man. No question.
Not because if you're a contender.
Even if you're a contender, I'm selling.
What would you sell for?
I'd like an upside receiver with like a 2020 first would be nice.
I don't think anyone's going to pay that.
And that's maybe you wait till he blows up in the week 2 because he's not going to be playing on Sunday night here.
Right.
With his volatility, man, it is a matter of time. Even this morning, he was on Instagram talking about like liking statuses, all this other stuff. Not to say you can't do that. Bill Belichick, if he gets crossed, dude, he's gone, and they don't need him. The Raiders needed Antonio Brown. The Raiders need Antonio Brown, right? Because they have who do they have? Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr. That's it.
He's a no nonsense type of guy.
The Patriots do not need Antonio Brown
Agreed.
to win a Super Bowl. They've won 6 without him.
Agreed.
And the year they had Randy Moss, they didn't even win it. So
yes,
that's my action plan. If I had a share of them, I'm not buying them.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens on that. It could go a lot of different ways, but so we've had one game this season. We saw the Packers-Bears game Thursday night. What did you think about that game?
Man, I'm glad football season's back, as you know. Super jacked for today. Got to see the entire game. Here's some of the things I noticed. We got some confirmation, as I've said before. Trubisky, man, I know he was a 3rd overall pick in the 2017 draft. That accuracy, it hasn't looked very sharp the last 2 years. It didn't look sharp on Thursday night. Now, granted, I think that Packers defense is much improved. They got some rookies at corner.
Yeah.
Savage looking nice.
They're
Jared
underrated.
Alexander there as well. Yes. The Packers defense, I think, is underrated. But Trubisky, man, he was letting him fly. He's kind of like rich man's Blake Bortles, which I think parlays nicely for Allen Robinson, man. Allen Robinson, undervalued player that's just absolutely beasted. Had 7 catches for 102 yards, and he should have had more. That interception that Trubisky saw, man, I saw the replay on it, and literally Trubisky, it was a shotgun snap, got the ball and literally stared at Allen Robinson for the 4 or 5 seconds that the play took place. Didn't take his eyes off him the entire time. Chucked it to him. It was an easy interception, man. He's locked on A-Rob, and really the rest of that receiving core ain't very great. I mean, you got Trey Burton there. He was injured, but I'm not really too sure about him. And then Gabriel's a speed guy, right?
Yep.
So, and then you got Anthony Miller, second-year player.
A lot of people are big on Miller in Dynasty. Yep. A lot of people think he's going to break out this year instead of next year.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be pretty tough with Trubisky with that accuracy, man. But I'm loving that Allen Robinson. Like I said, he flourished with Blake Bortles that one year in 2015. Could I see a rehash of that? Absolutely, especially if he's refined his game a little bit.
Yep.
Another thing that caught my eye was Montgomery. Haven't been too high on him. He athletically isn't that great. Had an okay production in college, but he was, he only had 16 yards rushing, and he had a nice catch too. And the Bears, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing a committee. I think they probably need to utilize him more. He actually, I thought, looked okay, and I think that might confirm what some people said about just his tape being pretty good. He made some people miss, broke a couple of tackles. I'm not going to be surprised if the Bears use him some more. Wouldn't be even mind buying him if it was for the right price.
I think the people that are big on Montgomery are pretty big on him.
Right. You're not going to get him for a low price anyways.
Love the Allen Robinson takes. Agree with Trubisky. On the same page for that. I was surprised they used Cohen so much. I thought, and name blanking, the other running back they got from Seattle.
Mike Davis.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike Davis. He had quite a bit of usage in that game.
Yeah, he actually had the most touches out of the 3 Mike Davis did for some late game passing.
That was surprising.
And he's a pass catching back, which Cohen is too. I think Cohen's probably more explosive than Davis is.
Yeah.
I think as the season progresses, I wouldn't be surprised if Davis gets phased out a little bit, but
yeah,
I also wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of those backs continue to eat away at each other's production, and it really doesn't become a fantasy football gold mine. Doesn't.
Definitely could. Yeah. Well, today is the day. All the games are starting, so we're gonna run down all the games, and we're each gonna give kind of one thing that we're looking forward to from a dynasty perspective.
Absolutely.
So first up, I'll let you start. We have the Rams and the Panthers.
Yeah, man. So like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm in 9 dynasty leagues currently. That number will continue to grow. And I got 4 shares of Todd Gurley. And we've been through the good times this season. I didn't try to panic sell, but I did try to sell him a little bit. Didn't get any sells on him. I wasn't selling too low. Offered maybe like a Gurley for a Chubb. People weren't having it. This was during March when everyone was hitting the panic button about him. So I've been holding on to him. I'm really interested to see how they use him. I think the knee, that's a cumulative progressive thing with the arthritic knee. They're going to manage his carries, but he still, I think, is going to have the elite talent. They're just not going to use him as much. So what I'm excited to see, dynasty-wise, is just to see exactly how that plays out. My prediction on it, Gurley will be an elite talent with a lower floor, but I still think have the very high ceiling that we're accustomed to. We're going to be looking at the end of the season, probably him being a lower-end RB1, which is fine. We can roll with it. But that's what I'm excited about. What about you?
For the Rams, I'm excited to see Cooper Kupp.
Okay, why is that?
I think the Moscow Mule, the man himself, I mean, you look at different teams that have viable receivers. I mean, the Rams have Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. That's a lot of assets on one team.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Cooper Kupp come back and kind of rebound from when he was out some games. So I think he's going to be utilized pretty heavy. On the Panthers side of thing, I believe Greg Olsen is playing. And he's definitely an older tight end, but if you're in a dynasty league and you're contending, a lot of times tight end is a weak position for a lot of teams that can make the difference between a win and a loss. Do you think Greg Olsen is someone to potentially target as a tight end on a one-year contending team?
Yeah, man. Right now I'm in a league that I did a startup on. I usually do a productive build to begin the year, and the league actually is only $50 this year, and then it's $100 after that, so it's even more incentive not to necessarily draft an older team. I like to start contending year 2, 3, but I have won some leagues in the first year, just kind of. But anyways, I ended up drafting Greg Olsen, but I have the intent of trying to sell him once some injuries hit. If I'm a contender right now, if one of my if one of my tight ends gets hurt, well, personally, I'm not buying for more than a third, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to sell him for a second at any point during the year. If I can get a second for Greg Olsen, I'm jumping off. I think Ian Thomas is in the wings. If that means maybe I got to throw in like a fourth and Greg Olsen for that second, I'd probably be okay with that too.
Yeah, like it.
Let's move on to Eagles and Redskins. One thing that I'm interested in dynasty-wise about this game, Darius Guice, man. Guice, baby.
Yes.
Love the guy. Tore his ACL in the preseason last year. Guy's a beast. Bowling ball. 5'10" or 5'11", 225. Ran a 4.49 at the combine last year. Not known for his receiving in college at LSU, but I think certainly reports have been saying he absolutely can't catch it, and his rushing ability is awesome.
Did you see that they're not going to have Adrian Peterson play today?
Correct, and apparently the Redskins locker room's not too happy about that.
I wouldn't be happy about that either.
But he doesn't contribute on special teams, and they want to see what Guice has.
Sure.
I'm a little surprised that they're not going to kind of ease him in slowly, but
sounds like they're throwing him in pretty deep.
Apparently they are. They got Wendell Smallwood, who's the third running back there, who's a special teams guy, and it's just a numbers game, man. You go from 53 to 46 on game day. So absolutely excited for him. What about you? One thing.
I'm excited about the Redskins dynasty long term. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot in this year, next year. Guice is definitely agree with that, to see Dwayne Haskins.
Yep.
And looking at the other receivers there.
God, he doesn't have a lot of weapons though, man. And Jordan Reed's out today, so I could see Haskins really struggling this year.
Absolutely this year, but moving future years, I think that they have some good future. I'm most excited. I want to see Miles Sanders. I want to see what can this guy do. A lot of leagues he went 1-1. A lot of leagues he didn't go 1-1. People had Jacobs over him or N'Keal Harry type of thing. There's a lot of Miles Sanders hype. I have some shares. I really want to see what the guy can do.
Yeah, looking over now next to the Jets-Bills game, one thing I'm really excited about dynasty-wise, Sam Darnold, man, the maturation. This guy came into the league last year, 21 years old. He's 22, and there's been nothing but good reports during the preseason, during training camp, offseason. Now he's getting help with Le'Veon Bell there. I think that's just only going to take the load off of him. Question the upside on his receiving options. Robbie Anderson's fairly decent. Quincy Nunwa and Jamison Crowder's kind of a PPR maven. But I think just overall, he's going to be the type of player that makes the players around him better. Really excited to see what he does. However, he's got a pretty a matchup that would cause some trepidation against the Bills. They got a pretty good pass defense.
Yeah. I had kind of wanted Antonio Brown to go to the Jets. I thought the AB Bell reunion would have been amazing. He would have been the clear-cut number one. I do like Darnold. I think he's up and coming. I'm most excited to see Le'Veon Bell. The dude sat out forever. He got his money. He got paid. He's here. He should be peppered heavily with targets.
Yep. Little safety blanket for Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Moving on to the Vikings and Falcons, man, it's that purple hometown Kool-Aid that I'll be drinking over here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Dalvin Cook for me. I actually don't have any Dalvin Cook shares, regrettably, in Dynasty. I do have him on a FanDuel team today, so I'll be rooting with you. I know you got Dalvin Cook in your main league. I do,
yeah.
With Kevin Stefanski and the Kubiaks coming in, Gary Kubiak, shifting to a zone run scheme in Minnesota. Man, I'm just super excited to see Dalvin. If he could stay healthy, the sky's the limit for him, honestly.
Absolutely.
He's got the talent. Falcons allow the most receptions to running backs, so I'm guessing today, man, he's going to blow up.
I hope he feasts.
That's what I'm most interested in seeing. God, can this guy just stay healthy, man? Let's go.
Let's go, yeah. For this matchup,
I know I stole your thunder. You got something more excited about than Dalvin Cook?
No, not really.
Okay.
But I do want a hot take.
Okay.
Hot take right now. There's a lot of different things I've listened to in different debates. Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs. Who's going to score more points in a PPR league this year?
Well, if I had to put money on it, I'm going to take Adam Thielen only because Stephon Diggs sometimes has a penchant for having those soft tissue injuries, obviously a hamstring.
Absolutely.
So if I'm putting money on it, sure, but I think Diggs has got the higher ceiling.
You'd rather
in Dynasty, I'll obviously want Diggs over Thielen.
Absolutely. Yep, agree. I would take Thielen this year too.
Dolphins, Ravens, man. Is there anything to get excited about on the Dolphins? Well, honestly, I'm most excited about the Ravens. I'd like to see Lamar Jackson with his progression. Obviously he's known for being that running quarterback, but he was a beast in college at Louisville. I want to see him. It could be an easy test too against these poor little Dolphins. But I'd like to see Lamar Jackson kind of get in the passing game. I really want to see how that passing game pans out. We know they got Mark Andrews there, who had 4 touchdowns last year, and it was a beast for a rookie tight end.
Fantastic.
As we know, tight ends take forever to mature. I'm really interested in kind of seeing how Lamar Jackson progresses now to this year. So that's one thing I'm going to be looking at today as we watch in the red zone. Like, what's going on with that Ravens game? Unfortunately, I think we're just going to see a lot of running, pound the ball. It's going to be a low-scoring affair. Ravens defense takes over. We go from there. What about you?
Yeah, you kind of said it all. Not a whole lot to get excited for. Those poor little Dolphins on that. You think anything on Hollywood Brown? Does he do anything for you?
I don't have him in any dynasty leagues. I know he was the first receiver off the board this year in the draft. Just the passing game is suspect for me.
Fair.
So I don't have high hopes for him, but he's got the speed, man. We'll see. He could get some. If in best ball leagues, I don't mind him.
Sure. Speaking of speed, let's move on to the Chiefs-Jags. I am excited to see Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about
He's back. He just got, I forget the exact numbers, but he just got paid. A couple-year contract, multi-million-dollars. He's fast. It's going to be interesting to see him back. The Chiefs are one of the biggest offensive powerhouses in the game. Not big on Damian Williams. No. Never have been. A lot of people bought into the hype. I saw him going high in drafts where he was available. People were taking him when he was on waivers or even in redraft leagues. He went very, very high, but not a big fan of him. But I think there's too many weapons with the Potomac bomb, as we call Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, they're nasty. Probably my best trade of the offseason I did. This is when Tyreek Hill was at an absolute low. There was so much trepidation floating around in the league about him never playing again. And I ended up trading Jameis Winston and like the 312 in a Superflex league for Sam Darnold and Tyreek Hill.
Oh, wow.
And probably about a month later, he got reinstated. Now he's got the big contract that he just signed yesterday. So
big win.
I am excited about him, but to be honest with you, my number one excitement for this game, hands down, not even close, Leonard Fournette. Coming into his third year, highly drafted, had the tumultuous situation with Coughlin towards the end of the year where he got sat, and some talk about his contract being voided. He's slimmed down, which we love to hear that about running backs. You don't want to hear about running backs gaining weight. You want to hear about slimming down. And this game is going to be a type of game where they're going to lean on him a lot, I think. Give me all the Leonard Fournette today, man, and really excited to see what he does for the
I think
season.
he's going to do great. I do have Raquel Armstead as a handcuff for him,
Yep,
just with
just in
the
case.
health concerns. I've got him in a couple leagues.
Yep.
Titans-Browns. The Browns have a lot to get excited for.
Tell me about it.
Well, let's just start with their quarterback, Baker Mayfield. One of the top dynasty quarterbacks in Superflex. I mean, the guy's amazing. Look what he did last year. He has an arrogance about him, too.
So accurate.
Kind of like it. And then, of course, they have OBJ.
Yep.
Arguably one of the best receivers in the game, top 3. They're going to be amazing. They have way too many weapons. They have Nick Chubb. They have Kareem Hunt later in the year coming back.
Yeah,
That'll
man,
be
this team is
interesting to
stupid
chat on
talented.
later.
Don't forget about David Njoku.
Njoku sitting there, too.
Rashad Higgins at the 3, Jarvis Landry.
Landry,
This
they're
team
stacked.
is stupid crazy.
Yeah.
I am interested. I think the Browns are going to roll today. Ain't going to be a question. I just saw a stat on ESPN that the Browns are 0-13-1 in the last 14 home openers. I think they're going to get that W today. It's at home, man.
They better get that dub.
Right now, as I see it, they're favored by more than 4 points. I am excited to see, because I think the Titans they want to run the ball. Wouldn't be surprised if I saw Tannehill take over Mariota at some point.
Absolutely.
But I want to see the Corey Davis, man. He's year 3 hype train for me. I got a lot of investment into him.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to pass the ball to stay in the game today, in my opinion. As much as they don't want to, they want to run that ball today and keep it close. Excited to see what happens with that. Let's move on to the Colts and the Chargers. Andrew Luck, rest in peace. What's your most exciting dynasty slant you're looking at today?
Austin Eckler.
Interesting.
I've got a bunch of Eckler shares. Melvin Gordon's obviously following suit of other running backs. He wants his money. He wants to get paid. Are they going to pay him? We don't know. Eckler's getting the start. I've got a lot of Eckler shares. I think he's going to do fantastic. I think he's going to prove himself as a legit running back 1. I think Melvin Gordon's going somewhere else.
Okay. And for me, that Chargers offensive line right now is absolutely in shambles, which a lot of my research that I've read about this week, we might be looking at some short passing games, so I'm be surprised to see some Keenan Allen pick up with pretty good big PPR game. Mike Williams is what I'm interested in. I actually traded away my last Mike Williams share earlier in a dynasty draft this year for A.J. Brown. I think it was a moment of weakness for me. It was kind of like a luxury spot, and I traded him away to just get 3 years younger because I'm a little bit high on A.J. Brown, but that's for another story. I'm interested to see how Mike Williams does today because I know there's a lot of hype train. I know you're on the hype train.
Huge
about him
Mike Williams fan.
having a big year, wide receiver 2 type year, potentially even more with the touchdown upside.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm wondering to see how he does today if that Chargers offensive line doesn't give them enough time for him to develop on those routes.
Yep.
He's more of a jump ball guy.
Yep.
I'll be interested to see how that goes.
Yep.
Moving on to Seahawks Bengals, man. One of the things I guess that I'm excited about, I want to see Russell Wilson here. Last year, what was the stat? Something about like they're one of the first teams to run the ball more than pass the ball in a very long time.
Yes.
I'm thinking that's going to transition this year to Russell Wilson passing it a little bit more.
Who's the targets?
Well,
Lockett's pretty good,
I could see Lockett blow up. I'm not a big DK Metcalf truther, but Russell Wilson's the type of guy that spreads the ball around. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they continued on because they do got the 1-2 punch, Chris Carson and Rashad Penny, though Chris Carson's kind of leading the pack right now and Penny's sort of an afterthought.
Yep.
I want to see how that develops, whether it becomes a more – I think it'll still be pretty run heavy, but Russell Wilson, man, so dynamic with the legs. He just passed a little bit more. He's going to be a QB1. 2 years ago, I think he was like the 1 or 2 number QB.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely very mobile. For that game, I want to see how the Chris Carson, Rashad Penny plays out through the year. Just today, see if that gives us any inkling to how it's going to look through the year. I think Carson is going to kind of lead the field, but I hope Penny kind of picks up because he was a huge draft pick for a lot of people. I have some shares of him, so.
Bucks Niners, man. One thing I'm really excited about, that I want to see. I'm a big Mike Evans truther. He's had 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons, quietly on a Hall of Fame trajectory. But I want to see the Chris Godwin hype. I don't have any Chris Godwin shares, in part because I got a few Mike Evans shares and just kind of believe in the Mike Evans truth along with O.J. Howard. Let me see what this Chris Godwin hype is all about.
Sure.
What about you?
I have a lot of 49ers players invested throughout my dynasties. I've got George Kittle. He's my boy. Took him super high in a startup draft this year. Jerick McKinnon's obviously out. They have Coleman. They have Breda. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how that pans out. Their receivers, they got my boy Debo.
Yeah.
They got Jimmy G throwing to him, although he did look really bad in preseason,
Okay.
but it is preseason. So I just want to see how the Niners look as a unit together.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, Giants Cowboys are rounding out this late slate here. Man, I'm just thinking Evan Ingram's going to have a huge year. When we look at the splits, when Odell Beckham is out, Ingram flourishes. You're going to have a situation here where it's a funnel up between Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, and your man's Saquon Barkley, heavily involved in the passing game. Evan Ingram's a beast. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes as a top 3 tight end and a guy like Ertz maybe falls outside of that. So let's see what happens with Ingram today. See if apparently you would expect the Cowboys to be good at defending the tight end with a couple stud linebackers there, and Jalen Smith and Zach Venderesh, but I'm not sure that they haven't been able to do that very well last year. So
Yeah.
and Evan Ingram is an athletic beast, ran a 4.4 at the combine. So pretty excited to see him ball out.
I'm excited to see the clash of the running backs. On one side, Saquon Barkley. On the other side, Ezekiel Elliott. Just got paid. It's going to be a good battle.
Yeah, man. Moving on to the Lions and the Cards. Shoot, man. Just give me the Kyle Murray. I want. This is an obvious one. I like Kerryon Johnson's an interesting one that I want to see too. But I just want to see the air raid system, man. Let me see what's going on with Kyle Murray, and then my highest owned asset, Christian Kirk.
You have a lot of Kirk shares,
6 out of 9, maybe 7 out of 9 Dynasty leagues.
don't you? A lot.
Looking to see what happens with this air raid.
Yeah, I've been huge on Kerryon Johnson. I always have been. When he fell to 8th overall in the rookie pick, that's when I made a big trade with you. I gave you Julio Jones for your 1.8 and then some, and I used that 1.8 to pick up Kerryon Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Love Kerryon Johnson. I think he could easily be a top running back this year. And then on the other side, Kyler Murray.
Patriots and Steelers is interesting. Antonio Brown will not be playing tonight, but Patriots are right now favored by almost 6 points, it looks like. Let me see what's going on with the Sony Michel and how they're going to break this down with Damian Harris. Pretty high on Damian Harris coming out of Alabama, and I'm really wondering how he's going to pan out there with Sony Michel. Sony Michel will get the rock, but interested to see how Damian Harris plays tonight. He had a decent preseason, so that's what I'm excited about. What about you?
On the Steelers side of things, they have never been a team, I believe, to ever do running back by committee. It's always been one guy getting fed the rock forever.
Yep.
Always has been.
Mm-hmm.
And they have James Conner, and most people think he's the guy. I'm interested to see if they try something new a little bit. They don't have Le'Veon Bell. They don't have Antonio Brown. Obviously, they have Juju, who's amazing. James Conner, his health concerns. Can he stay healthy for the year? Can he be the guy? Does Jalen Samuel step up? Does Benny Snell do anything?
Probably not.
Probably not, but I'm interested to see.
Texans Saints. I want to see how Latavius Murray fits into this offense. If he's going to kind of be the same as the Ingram, I think we can agree Ingram's more talented than Latavius Murray. They want to keep Alvin Kamara fresh, but man, he's elite too. I want to see how much they give Latavius Murray in this offense, and how that can be extrapolated to the rest of the season.
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited for this game. Texans Saints, I think, is going to be one of the best matchups of the week in terms of points, scoring, just everything, seeing the players play.
Yep.
Let's see Duke Johnson.
Okay.
What is he going to do there? Is he sneaky, underrated in PPR with his catching abilities? Is he finally going to have some opportunity to do some things, lighten loads for other players?
Yeah, potentially. I was a little downtrodden, not on the Lamar Miller injury front, but I had some Demaria Crockett, didn't make the team.
Yeah.
Was expecting him. He was an athletic marvel for him to maybe make a name for himself, but I wouldn't be surprised if Duke Johnson has a nice season. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's good value in some redraft leagues this year. Final game, Broncos Raiders. Aside from seeing the Raiders sideshow, let me see how Noah Fant does. As as I said earlier, these rookie tight ends just notorious for not doing anything their first year. It's a lot to take under. Myself, I played tight end in college, not to a high level again, like I said, but it is a lot. You got to block, you got to run, you got to know all the pass plays, all the run plays. It's a lot more than you would think. But Noah Fant, man, athletic marvel from Iowa. Ooh, man, that Broncos offense. I mean, they got Cortland Sutton. They got some interesting running back situation with Lindsey and Freeman. That's another topic. But let's see how Fant does. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. On the Raiders, I was excited for Antonio Brown, but obviously that's not happening. So let's see Josh Jacobs. Let's see what they can do. On the Broncos side, I got a question for you.
What's up?
Emmanuel Sanders magically is back from the Achilles injury. That doesn't happen, but he's back. Is he the number one receiver on that team? Is Cortland Sutton stepping up? Is it going to be a kind of like a Diggs Thielen split? What do you think?
Could be where Sanders sort of starts the year as the veteran incumbent, right? But man, he tore his Achilles. That's tough to come back from. I'd look for Sanders to kind of play a little more of a slot role. Sutton's not a slot guy anyways. And probably by mid-season, I could see Sutton taking the lead. But then again, for both of those guys, you got Joe Flacco thrown to you, which I'm not too excited about. I'm not too excited about this Broncos team in general.
Yeah.
So I would say Sutton by a hair.
Sure.
Sanders will be respectable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's it for all the matchups. So I think for ending our first episode here, we're going to go through a bold prediction each, and then we'll kind of sign off.
How bold do you want me to get, man?
Well, I would say a bold prediction has to be something where if you were to throw it up on a Twitter poll, a large majority would vote against you. Maybe even like 2/3 would say the other way.
Right.
Maybe even 75% would say no way. So
I'm going to give a plausibly bold prediction and a bold prediction.
All right, let's hear it.
Dalvin Cook, if he stays healthy, finishes the season as the number one running back in the league. If he stays healthy for all 16 games, he's the number one running back. Is that bold?
That is bold.
All right, then I'm just going to stick with that one.
There is Zeke. There are
Yes.
Saquon Barkley. There are a lot of other elite running backs. That is a bold prediction, my friend.
If he stays healthy,
I like it.
I
love
like
it. I love it. As a Vikings fan, I love it.
What do you got for your bold prediction, man?
Well, it's not as bold as that.
Really?
I was going to say Allen Robinson, top 10 receiver.
That's not bold.
It's not bold at all.
It's like lightly bold.
Yeah,
it's like a medium roast
Thursday
coffee.
Night. How about this for bold? Mike Williams outscores Keenan Allen this year.
Okay, yeah, that's bold.
Is that bold?
It's not like Keenan Allen's 32 or anything. He's 26 or 27. So
yeah.
All right, man. I'll take it for you.
Okay.
Bold enough.
All right, bold enough. That's good. Well, thanks everyone for listening today to our first inaugural podcast. As we kind of go through this and everything, we'll develop more content and things. We'll build out a website. We'll have a lot of content. We'll have a lot of rankings. We'll do some Q&A, some different items like that. So got a lot to look forward to.
All right, man. All day, every day.
All day. Go Vikings.
Let's go.